Manchester is a huge cultural city, but is also big on LGBT rights. Jonathan Blackburn looks at gay marriage in the UK.
Self-improvement has always been a strong factor in the city of Manchester. Whether it is rebuilding after the IRA attacks of the 90s or paying tribute to Queen Victoria, Manchester continues to improve. Whilst the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender society may not be the thing that the city is most known for, they are definitely one of the key factors in what makes Manchester such a multicultural place. The Gay Village is home to over 40 LGBT-owned businesses, and the Equal Marriage Act is surely a reason for them to celebrate. Village icon, local business owner and friend to the stars, Mr. Poptastic himself, shared his experiences on marriage.
I've been going out with my partner for 11 years, and 6 of those years I commuted to and from America every other month to him. He lived in New York, I lived here, and after 6 years I said we need to do something about this because I no longer want to travel. Either I give up Manchester and go to you in New York, or you come here, and he chose here. But as part of that process we decided to get married.
John's business is famous the world over, with Kylie, Oasis and the Scissor Sisters being among the most notable clientele he's ever had. Having married his husband Antonio in 2008 over in America, John feels as though this is a fantastic step forward for England. However, not everyone agrees with John's sentiment.
I'm quite old-fashioned in my personal views. As a Christian, I believe that marriage is for one man and one woman. I'm perfectly happy with the special arrangements that are being made in the form of civil partnerships, a legal arrangement.
Alistair's opinion may be stranger still, since back in the 60s he set up a helpline aimed towards helping disenfranchised LGBT people. Today the Lesbian and Gay Foundation plays a very similar role. The LGF wasn't available for an interview, but did give us an official statement. As a charity, the Lesbian and Gay Foundation is proud to support the LGBT community of Manchester. The Same-Sex Marriage Act is phenomenal, and it isn't like we were asking for special treatment, just equal treatment. While same-sex marriage seems popular at the moment, let's just hope it doesn't bring with it flooding. This is Jonathan Blackburn reporting for Keys News TV.
Thanks, Jonathan. And now Kat is going to look at transgendered issues on public transport.
Using public transport may seem simply a way of getting from A to B, but imagine being ridiculed and abused just for being yourself on public transport. That's exactly what's been happening to trans people. An EU survey has recently revealed that 20% of all murder victims are transgender. The government admitted in 2010 a need for better recording of hate crime against transgenders, according to the Coalition Programme for Government. 79% of trans individuals reported harassment on public transport last year alone. We spoke to Transforum, support group for trans people in Manchester, to find out why they describe Salford as a virtually no-go zone for public transport.
The problem with public transport, particularly late in the evening, is the lack of staff. So one doesn't feel at all safe. For instance, if I go home on the train on a Friday night after about 9 o'clock, there's lots of people who are drunk, who've maybe been having a fix as well, and you feel very unsafe. And obviously as a transsexual woman, there's always that chance of transphobia and people getting really cross because you are trans. I think it's very sad because I also work as an independent advisor for the British Transport Police, and I literally travel all over Wales and down to London and Birmingham regularly, and it's only those occasions on times like a Friday night or maybe a Saturday night when things are not so good, or the usual things when there's the football crowds around, or there's lots of young people. Unfortunately, it's often those who are unemployed and haven't got anything else to do. Look how long it's taken to get used to people not being anti-racial. It's taken 30, 40 years to change that culture. And it's the same with the trans, and to a lesser extent now with the LGBT community.
It's bad. It is. It's just...
Yes. It's not a no-go area, but it's going that way particularly late in the evenings, as Liz says.
Well,
It can be really scary.
Well, where you have the old hospital, which is now apartment blocks, and just beyond there to just beyond where the university buildings stop, you don't actually leave your car door windows open. You have your car doors locked, and you don't have your windows open. And it's the same with buses. You did not want to get. You just don't. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's not safe, and that's really sad because you know I mean, there's a really good out in Salford. Really
That's
amazing
right.
transcript over there. It's really, and again, it's not feeling safe, and that's bad. If you don't feel safe on the service that's supposed to provide you with transport from one place to another. Yeah. To travel regularly from Salford, and there are unmanned train stations, and it is absolutely petrifying to walk through a train station late at night and there is no one around. And yeah, when you've got people following you behind you, and it's just, you feel completely and utterly unsafe. And within a whiskers, that if I hadn't have literally turned a corner and someone had been there, this person was behind me, and you could say this person was not being pleasant, they were being very rude. So yeah, that's the kind of experience. Funnily enough, in central Manchester, I don't have any problem. I get on and off the free buses, but then again, I just sort of like just go out and do whatever I want to do, and quite often in a car. But as far as transport is concerned, late night on the trams I really wouldn't want to do anymore, because I did it once and it wasn't very pleasant. And that's just people just being blary and silly, but you don't know how silly they're going to be because they're a little bit worse for wear of a drink, and that's a bit of a worry.
We have had reports from people on late night buses, haven't we?
Yeah.
That's sad, because often the driver doesn't take action, although he is in charge of the bus.
Yeah.
The good thing is a lot of them now have CCTV, so if an incident is reported, there's often the evidence already there.
I've known girls get off.
Yes.
I've actually known a couple of the girls that were going to come actually got off the bus rather than stay on the bus and be insulted and have nobody to do anything about it.
Is it particularly bad in the Salford area?
Salford's bad. It is. It's just.
Yes. It's not a no-go area, but it's going that way, particularly late in the evenings, as Liz says. It can be really scary.
Well, where you have the old hospital, which is now apartment blocks, and just beyond there to just beyond where the university buildings stop, you don't actually leave your car door windows open. You have your car doors locked, and you don't have your windows open. And it's the same with buses. You did not want to get. You just don't. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's not safe, and that's really sad, because you know I mean, there's a really good out in Salford. Really
That's
amazing
right.
transcript over there. It's really, and again, it's not feeling safe, and that's bad. If you don't feel safe on the service that's supposed to provide you with transport from one place to another.
Why is Salford so bad for transgenders and public transport? We spoke to Joe Kelly, a student at Salford University, to find out his experiences of transport in Salford.
My first real instance of transphobic abuse of someone recently.
Really?
Here, since I've been at uni, yeah, some guy who I met during the elections.
No way.
Yeah, ended up tagging me in quite a transphobic meme on Facebook.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then started going on about how I needed to have a nice girl to show me how to be a real man, and it was kind of like, well, I've got a nice girl, and I ain't a real man, sweetie, because I ain't no man. But I'm gonna be there. But it was ridiculous. He was like, "Oh, come down to the gym, you'll work out who you are." And I was like, "Yeah." It was just, this guy just see me with a few selfies of me, fully made up, and decided that he didn't understand it and that he wanted to, be unpleasant about it, which is a shame. But he's been reported. I'm not taking it sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just something that kind of comes with the territory of it, which is terribly sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of being. It's part of being a trans student, is you open yourself up to abuse. And that's a very sad but true fact. Most days, yeah. Sometimes there's a lot more rush than others. So, some days it'll just be chuck on lipstick and then a bit of concealer and then get out the door. I do like to try and spend the time to kind of do your face before I leave. Just because it gives me it makes me really confident, and it gives me like a lot of confidence during the day. And like, yeah.
So I suppose confidence is the most important thing when going out then.
Yeah, definitely. You know, like if I'm confident in how I'm looking, I'm a lot less nervous about stuff. I'm a lot less kind of like aware of like, well, not less aware, but kind of like I'm less concerned about what's going to happen to me. If I'm more confident, you know. I've had odd remarks, I've had nasty looks, I've had very much insults, but I've never been physically attacked. But it's a phenomenon that I'm aware of happening. You know, I've had friends who are trans who said that we've been assaulted and there's been issues with it. And, you know, I've had situations where, you know, it's been a case of if I hadn't kept my head down or hadn't shut up at the right moment, I probably would have had a kicking. I think Salford is no different to any other big city for transphobia. It isn't to say that it isn't an issue with it, it's to say that there's an issue with transphobia across all big cities. To be what we as a trans community face, you know, in terms of harassment, you know, we have the highest statistics of rape across the LGBT community. We have the highest statistic of violent assault and murder across the LGBT community. We have the highest rate of unemployment, homelessness, of HIV/AIDS transmission in some countries. We have the highest rate of, you know, mental health issues. We just have the highest rate of everything when it comes to getting a really, really bad deal. It's hard to tell because you block it out after a while. But you know, I've had like whispered comments of like, "Is that a tranny?" And like, and then really obvious use of something like, "What does he look like?" Because it's very obvious that if I'm being read as feminine, and I don't identify as someone who uses the term he, but it's like really obvious misgendering, and then as well it's stuff like, you know, gasps of like and they're on, and you know, I've had like I remember in one instance I had a woman like turn her child away from me on a bus. Depending on your situation, public transport, you know, there's always an idiot on public transport. There's always someone who's being a bit unpleasant. Someone who wants to have a go on public transport. We've all had that situation of you're on the way for a night out and there's someone who's had a few too many and wants to be a hard man. And you know, if you've got that, and then you factor in, you know, being trans, you've got a recipe for disaster, frankly. Because no, I don't think the police or the transport police are doing enough. I don't think the police have ever done enough for trans people. You know, we've traditionally been a community that, you know, has been one attacked by the police, and you know, we've been vilified by the police. And you know, at the end of the day, like I said before, you know, with harassment on buses and stuff, you know, I've never seen drivers stand up or kick off about it. You know, I've seen drivers, you know, sometimes it's quietly chuckling along, and I think it needs to be a big shift in the way that drivers work, and I think that needs to come from the transport police and the police themselves, but I don't think there is enough being done, and I think unless something critical is changed in the way that the police, and specifically the transport police, react to hate crime, we're going to have a horrible situation on our hands. Calling someone a tranny on a bus might just seem a bit of like, oh, a flippant comment to you, but you know, you're enabling us to get killed, you're enabling us to get raped, you're enabling us to become further targets, because what you're doing is you're denying us an identity, you are reducing us to something. And you know, at the end of the day, I'd also say, you know, like, what is it that makes you so scared of us? Because we all know that hatred comes from a feeling of two feelings. Hatred comes from a feeling of power over someone and a feeling of fear. And you know, I just say, like, you know, why do you fear us? We're just living our lives.
There is some actions going on, and we're at the moment discussing with Greater Manchester Police how we can do more trans awareness training to promote the reporting of hate crime, because a lot of the problem is that people are afraid to report hate crimes. So, for instance, transphobic hate crimes, probably less than 1 in 5 actually get reported, and they don't get reported for a variety of reasons, mainly around people are frightened of talking to the police. They think the police may be just as transphobic as the perpetrators. We did a survey recently and somebody actually put that in the comment line, I wouldn't report because the police are as bad as the perpetrators. Other things people have reported, nothing happens, or they're told it's not a hate incident or a hate crime. And other times when it's gone forward, the perpetrators have got away with it. And for us, that sends a signal to them that it's okay to do it.
A particular girl I know was actually hit by a person, told the station police, and the station police just laughed and walked away and just didn't want to know. And that
That's
in itself,
unacceptable.
well, you see, that in itself projects the image that you're not going to be listened to. I mean, whether it's the transport police or whether it's the police generally, if you feel that you're not going to be listened to, you're not going to feel that what is the point of actually reporting any kind of crime, whether it's on transport or not.
Greater Manchester Police are now working with Transforum to stop hate crime in Salford. Kat Houston, KCB News.